So this is just a really like standard short presentation on subtle body and what we're going to be doing with the chanting, or what it is that we do when we chant. What are the Bija mantras? What is this that we're trying to do with this type of practice? And I will go towards the beginning just because for me, when I review Samkhya, which is more of what I studied in the Baba Haridas lineage, which we studied more of like Vedanta and Samkhya as two different traditions that then lead way towards yoga, even though they in themselves, they are part of the six darshanas. They do gateway towards how we view yoga nowadays. So I go back into Samkhya a little bit. And just because I know most of you, I'm not sure, I think there's a couple people I don't know here, but I think most of you are here through the yin yoga. So I go a little bit into Taoism and tantric energy body models, which we play a lot with in yin yoga, even though today is strictly playing with Bija mantras. Also because we are using the type of chants that my teachers use. So we're using what Paul and Susie chant with, mostly having to do with their studies with their Sanskrit teacher. So then this has really nothing to do with Hiroshi Motoyama or what exactly the yin yoga is, but I do go into a little bit of that Taoism and tantric energy body model. And then I'll talk about the chakras a little bit. What is it that we do with the chakras? And I think all of you know, because you've heard me probably say this a lot, this here right now actually spells chakras. It actually doesn't spell chakras. Chakras would not have an H, because anything just to see in Sanskrit is chakra. So just this would actually read chakra. If we were, the H would be aspirated. So just a little side note there. Sometimes you'll see some of my things have chakras with an H because I like for everyone to be able to understand. Other times you'll see that it doesn't have an H. So it's not, it's actually, this is the one that my Sanskrit teacher would be like, don't ever do that. But it's the way that we can all understand it more. So I will attempt to speak a little bit about what Samkhya is, very brief, because this is a subject that is very dense. It is a part of philosophy of yoga, and it's a lot more complicated than how I'm describing it. I'm just really kind of synthesizing this chart that I have actually from the Mount Madonna lineage. We work with this chart when they go into Samkhya and the different traditions of Purusha and Prakriti as two different qualities through which then the world is manifested. So for example, I have a teacher who describes this more as a kind of a big bang. So if you think about how the world is created, there are two qualities that are just sitting in and of themselves. And then when they come together, they swirl together, and then this creation happens of what we then start to understand as our experience in this environment. Purusha is most known as consciousness, and then Prakriti is matter. So we have these two qualities, they come, there's a big bang, and then from there, we start to stem into what is the mind and the intellect and the ego, and then even more material planes of the three gunas, which you've probably heard more about this in, especially if you have a previous practice of 200-hour YTT. The three qualities that reign our universe. And this, again, this is from Indian tradition. This is what we're looking at right here. And so where do the elements come into this? Because the elements are very related to the chakras and very related to as well our idea of prana, what it is that we're circulating through these different material manifestations. And then how, in this case, we're talking about different qualities that help them have also transformed themselves into different things. So we have the quality of tamas, which is solely and purely more material, and that is more of that inert disposition. All of them are necessary, even though we have a tendency to kind of, oh, I really want more sattva, because that is the one that we tend to associate more with like purity or qualities that are lighter. And rajas is more of the action. But the truth is that all of them are necessary, because the three of them make us do what we have to do and sometimes not do what we shouldn't be doing, or sometimes in the case of meditation, we need to sit down. We need a little bit of that tamas to tell us, no, you don't want to move right now. You need to sit still. So they really are just ways of thinking of how we transform movement and different qualities according to what we need. And in the tamas realm, which has more to do with the material realm, then that's where we're connecting with the qualities of the elements: earth, water, fire, air, and ether. When we think about these elements, so that's also where we're touching more into prana and into what we're doing with the chakras, because the chakras in and of themselves also have to do with these 5 elements. Yes, I know there's 7 chakras, but they're also different. Some systems work with the chakras in different ways as well. So this is just a little like recap all the way back to be like, okay, so this is how we manifest. And then this is where we're working with when we're thinking of the pranic world, subtle body. We're working at a place that actually works with all these qualities, because we do have that physical and the astral and then the causal body that through which we're moving also the energies in and of ourselves. And the interesting thing about this chart is that I see it as the world being manifested, but also us, how we're manifested. So how we come to be in our experience, this person that then is labeled with a name and that then has these certain tendencies, and we have to move in certain ways. And we have tendencies that kind of call us more than others as well, thinking of the triguna qualities. The tantric path, this is more of Samkhya, would have to do with not necessarily Tantra, but previous to Tantra and prior to what would be the Vedic period. So the Vedas do have to do with stem into the 6 Darshana path. So it does have to do with Samkhya though. And the tantric path has more to do with that lineage from India. It describes energy as prana. So that is what we're trying to move when we chant. The lines that the prana travels are nadis, and the energetic vortices are the chakras. So this is kind of what we think about when we're working with subtle body and when we're working with subtle body in relation to Tantra. And just again, a little reminder that in Taoist path and in Yin Yoga, sometimes we work with different words. We use the words chi to describe prana. We use the words meridians to describe nadis. And we use the words Dan Tien to describe chakras, which are actually, they are wheels of energy, but they're different. There are only 3 wheels. So they kind of group some of these wheels that in the chakra system then describes more of those more descriptions of the chakras, and then the Taoist has more descriptions of the meridians. So this is also where we kind of merge and say, okay, again, for references on this, I always really recommend Hiroshi Motoyama's book, Theories of the Chakras. That's a really good way to kind of understand this merging that we often do in Yin Yoga. Even though right now, with what we're going to do with the Bija mantras, we're strictly more into that lineage from India. That's more towards what we're working with. So we have the 3 main nadis. These are the energy currents or lines or channels, if you want to refer to them as that. Or as we also had studied recently, they also refer to them as like waterways. So they're channels of water. In the Indian tradition, they speak most about 3, and sometimes you'll often read certain texts that just say, well, you just want Sushumna. Don't even care about Hita and Pingala Nadi, just focus on Sushumna. So just interesting facts that you can think about. Okay, they just mentioned 3. We have these 3 energy lines. We have our center, that's Sushumna. We have the one on the right that's known as Pingala, the one on the left that's known as Ida. I'm describing them here as kind of curving into each other, but most of the text really just describe lines that go up and down. So as well, you'll read different things. A lot of what we get nowadays about chakras is also very modernized, and it has other elements even from like Jungian theories. So just something to think about with the chakras and everything that's been added to them nowadays, the colors and the feelings and the psychology. Lots of this is kind of not really what you find in the text about the chakras. You'll find more in regards to the elements or deities related to the chakras. And some of them you will find reference to colors. You will find reference to colors, but they use them in different ways as well. Not as sometimes how we've taken them so literally, I feel like. So we use the 7 chakra system. But as I mentioned before, there are other systems that just work with 5. And there are also sometimes ways that you can work with just a certain amount of chakras, especially if you're working in regards to the elements. And we have the one at the first chakra, the one at the bottom, Muladhara chakra. And then towards the lower abdomen, we have Spadhisthana chakra. Towards the solar plexus, Manipura chakra. The heart, Anahata chakra. The throat, Vishuddha chakra. The third eye, Ajna chakra, and then the crown of your head, Sahasrara chakra. These chakras, we've placed Bija mantras in them. And according to some things I've been reading up on them, it's really interesting to read Sanskrit scholars who actually are capable of reading texts that directly deal with the chakras and their points of view on our take with what we've taken with the chakras. And I was quite blown away a while ago to read that the Bija mantras are actually in regards to the elements. And we've placed them very tightly into the chakras, and they do work with the chakras because we are working with elements. We work with the chakras, whether we're working with the earth and the water element, or we're going in towards the fire element and then towards the ether. So there are ways in which we are working with the elements in regards to the chakras, and that is related more precisely to the element, not necessarily the chakra that we so tightly kind of cling to. So there's a little bit more of that's just interesting, something interesting to think about, because we really hold on tightly to things that we read sometimes, and then when you go back and you study them, like, oh, no way, I never even thought of that is just in regards to the 5 elements. And then for those of you that did a little bit of meridian study, remember that's very different, the system of the elements of how we work with them in what would be the Taoist approach, and then what would be the lineage from India. So it's different also the ways in which we work with the elements. Even though they're similar, we know that there are some differences. So the purpose of a chakra system is to function as a template for Nyasa. And this in itself for me is something really important to look at, that phrase in itself. This is from Christopher Wallace is his name, and he's actually a Sanskrit scholar. And for me, that phrase was just also mind-blowing, because it is what we do, and it is what we do in Paul and Susie's method of working with the Bija mantras. And so this is precisely what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be working with the chakra system as a way in which we Nyasa, which is place our attention at a specific point in our body, and we're going to chant a certain amount of times at that specific point of the body. And then we're going to hold a rebound, a short rebound. For those of you not familiar with that word rebound, in the yin yoga, we use that as a moment to just observe what happens. So again, we hold on tightly to these certain systems or rules. And the more I read with, especially very experienced teachers, I mean, I've been teaching for 20 years, but when I talk about people who have that double 40 years or 50 years, it's super interesting to just read how you really start to let go of how much you cling to what you think is the correct way. And so when I'm going to talk about the rebound, for a while, I would always be like, stay at the chakra in the rebound. And Paul at some point was like, no, we actually just want to rebound wherever we have to rebound. So even though I'm going to bring your attention towards those 7 chakras and work with certain Bija mantras in a certain order with those chakras, when we go into the rebound, which is when we stop chanting, try not to cling too closely to where you think your attention has to go, and see if you can actually observe what is happening in your body. So that's just something to think about with this, as the purpose of a chakra system is to function as a template for Nyasa. Nyasa is where we're going to place our attention. Chakras are also often referred to as Padmas, Adharas, Lakshyas. They come from the Tantric tradition. Nyasa, as I mentioned before, means to place attention at, and in this case, a specific point of the subtle body. So there are other ways to do Nyasa as well. Right now, with working with the chakras, working with the subtle body, we're going to work with placing the Bija mantras at specific energetic points of the body. So let's go ahead and start finding a comfortable position. This hand here. And just go ahead and sit however is most comfortable for you. And if you have a chair close by, you can go ahead and just sit on the chair if you need it. So in Hiroshi Motoyama's theories of the chakras and the studies that he has done with the chakras and this energy body, there is a really close link with the spine and the chakras. And that is where the chakras reside. That's where the flower of each chakra is at. I mean, the root, sorry. The flower then is what we often refer to as lower abdomen, upper abdomen, center of the chest. When we refer to the root, we're actually referring more to the spine. And of course, the flower can go in any direction. Again, we don't need to kind of rip this idea of it's only the lower abdomen. It could be slightly out towards the sides. It could be slightly further back. It doesn't have to be in this specific direction. So there are no borders when we think of the subtle body. You should make sure that your spine is comfortable. Relax your shoulders. Relax your face. And just bring your attention inward. Noticing your breath and its natural rhythm. Bring your attention to the pelvic floor, the coccyx or the pelvic floor, towards Muladhara chakra. We'll use the Bija mantra, Lam. It's call and response. I'll be the call voice. Anai's going to be the response voice. Lam, 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 lam. 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 Feeling the rebound. Grounding and raising your awareness towards the lower abdomen, sacrum region, Svadhisthana chakra, using the Bija mantra, Vam. Vahum, 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 vahum. Sitting with the rebound. Grounding and raising your awareness towards the solar plexus, upper region of the lumbar spine, Manipura chakra. And we'll use the Bija mantra, Ram. Rahum, 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 Rahum. Rahum, 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 Rahum,
Ram, 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 Ram.
Sitting quietly with the rebound. Grounding and raising your awareness towards the center of your chest, mid-upper region, the thoracic spine, Anahata chakra. We'll use the Bija mantra, Yam. Yahum, 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 Yahum.
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 Yahoo, 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 Yahoo.
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 Observing the rebound. Grounding and raising your awareness towards your throat region, cervical spine, Vishuddhi chakra. We'll use the Bija mantra, Hum, 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 Hum.
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 Hum, hum, hum,
hum, 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 hum, hum, hum.
sitting quietly with the rebound. Grounding and raising the awareness towards the third eye, center of the brain, in between the eyebrows, Agnya chakra. We use the Bija mantra Om. Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Om, 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 Om.
Sitting with the rebound. Grounding and raising the awareness towards the crown of your head, in the space above the crown of your head. Sahasrara chakra, the 1000th petal lotus. So we'll use the Bija mantra Om. And this time, everyone will just chant 3 times, exhale 3 times at your own pace, at the length that feels appropriate for you. 3 times through the Bija mantra. Sitting with the rebound. Observing with grace and ease anything that comes up. Sensations, pulsations, emotions, thoughts. We're stirring our karmic seeds as we chant through the Bija mantras and place our attention in these different energy centers. Absolutely every part of this experience is important. Even if there's resistance. And start to relax your effort. Bring your hands together in front of your heart in Anjali Mudra. Padma Mudra. Create space between your fingers, keeping the pinky and the thumb together. So you're drawing the lotus with your hands. Padma. You can bring your hands together again. Now bring your hands in front of your third eye. And raise your hands towards the sky over your head. Any merit that we may have achieved through this practice, and we dedicate it to the benefit of all beings. Bring your hands together again in front of your heart. Acknowledging our inner light. Namaste.